Testing. Super
Hello.
Earth citizens.
1, 2.
From cadet to super privates, welcome back to the Helldivers experience. This is the episode 2 of the podcast. We are your co-hosts, me and Mr. Pips, your extremely experienced Helldivers. Today we're going to be having our first guest on the show, Eravin.
Hey there, guys.
And you guys already know this podcast is dedicated to bringing you guys Helldivers news, as well as the meta, as well as tips and tricks from all the experienced Helldivers in the community. Now, today we're going to be discussing the changes to the higher difficulty, the increased Charger spawns, the Charger Behemoth spawns, the increased Gunship Patrol spawns. We're all going to be going around and giving things we like or didn't like about the new patch. And then we'll talk about the Viper Commandos Warbond. Sounds good, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's do it.
Alrighty, now before we hop into the podcast, let's talk about the sponsor, Instant Gaming. Now, Instant Gaming, if you guys didn't know, is a video game website where you can get games for much cheaper. Right now, through the 23rd, they're doing their El Dorado summer sales. You could get up to 85% off of many different games like Ready or Not, Fallout 76, No Rest for the Wicked, Kingdom Come, everyone's favorite supermarket simulator. Check that one out. Tekken 8, and many others. So with that out of the way, let's hop into the show. So first off, how you doing, Eravin? You're our first guest. Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So
looking forward to it.
So Eravin has popped off in the Helldivers community lately. He's posted some good videos like the, well, everybody knows him for stealth. If you don't know Eravin, make sure to hit the pinned comment and subscribe to his channel. Also go sub to Mr. Pips, because he's always on the show. You guys know we love Pips here too. And yeah, I think we could I think we could start off talking about the new patch and the new update. We're not going to go over patch notes or anything like that. We're just going to go around, name some of the stuff we like, and talk about it a little bit. So, Eravin, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I've been spending a lot of time with the tenderizer since the patch dropped, and it was kind of a gun that I always felt pretty strongly about, that it could be a great weapon to use just because of the handling. Like the recoil and the handling of that weapon is just so pristine compared to what you get from the other ARs in the game. Besides the sickle, but the windup just doesn't do it for me with that gun. I just like the ballistics, and with the buffs to it, I started to feel it a little bit more for the bugs. It's about the same for the bots in a way, just because it doesn't hit any more breakpoints than it did before, but I just really love that gun.
I
love the way it feels.
I agree with you, and I was getting flamed when Polar Patriots dropped because everyone was saying it's a worse Liberator, and I was like, no, listen, it's a worse Liberator against bugs, but this thing is super accurate. It's actually a better Liberator against bots, but now that they buffed it, it's just a better Liberator, which is always great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
100%.
What do you think against the bugs right now, Pips, with the tenderizer?
I feel like the tenderizer definitely, like, there's no comparison, right? Like, that damage buff just literally showed us that, I feel like the ARs, even, like, if you think about it, went from like approximately 60 to like 95 damage, which is a huge increase, right? But even then, it feels really, really good. But it shows that, their fear of kind of making ARs a little bit high damage is not valid. Like, they don't have to be afraid, right? Like, they can bump up the numbers and it's going to feel really good, but it's not going to feel overpowered. Right now, the only problem I have with the tenderizer when I'm playing against the bugs is the ammo economy. And we discussed this, and you were saying, and that makes a lot of sense, that it's way better on the bot side.
Yeah.
Because, you have to be more precise with your shots, right? Like, landed and everything. On the bug side, you get overwhelmed. So there's so many of them that you just don't get into the... You need a little bit more ammo there,
And there's just less enemies to fight against bots, too.
Yeah. Yep.
Like bugs, at the end of a bug match, you get like 700 kills sometimes. At the end of a bot match, it's like it's like 105, and you're like, it felt like way more bots I was fighting, but it's just not.
Yeah.
All right, what's something you liked from the patch, Mr. Pips? What's the big standout to you?
The orbital changes, man.
Which ones?
I'm all about like build crafting and like putting things together. Like that's what I enjoy the most. And I feel like the 110 pods being the way they are now and the precision, even though it's only a 2-second drop, it gave me the ability to put really fun builds together. I'm working on them at the moment, but it's really fun. Like the ability that, for example, 2 pods and a plasma shotgun kills a Titan, or what's
You
it called? One rail cannon and
Does
one
the
plasma.
do you not have one rocket pods breaking the Titan's back?
So we tested it for hours, and it happened only once every
What? Bro,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
has to be unlucky. Every single time I've
yeah.
used rocket pods, it breaks the Titan's back.
That makes
And
it even better, right? Makes it
and
even better.
I actually had rocket pods one shot the Titan once.
No, I've never had that one shot. I had the
That's
Titans
rare.
2 shot. Like we
That's
did
rare.
like 20, 30 kills, and like we hit him. Yeah, never got a one shot, but we did get a 2 shot. But overall, like these little changes, man, they made the game more fresh in terms of builds for sure. For me
Okay.
personally.
Okay. I think they could bring the rocket pods damage back up a little bit. I like they gave it higher armor
I
pen.
agree.
But they lowered it got actually about 100 damage nerf. No, 50. Yeah, no, about 100 damage nerf per pod because they nerfed it by 50, but they raised the armor pen.
And they lowered the explosive armor pen too.
Yeah, that
So
too.
you don't pen with the 250 explosive anymore on most of the targets you want to use those on.
I feel like
Yep.
the idea behind that was they didn't want it to one-shot Titans. And I'm cool with that because you get 3 of them, and I feel like as long as it consistently breaks the back open, and then you also have to shoot the Titan, that's a good spot for it to be because it's an extra charge compared to many like 500 kg, for example. It won't one-shot the
Yep.
Titan. You still have to
Yep.
deal with the Titan afterwards, so I don't think it should one-shot it. Sometimes it just randomly does, which is weird.
No, it would be crazy if it one shot. I think that would be too much.
Yeah.
Like that would mean that you wouldn't literally need 500 kg or the rail cannon at all.
I like it if it's in a spot where it's consistently breaking the back open. I feel like what they used to be, as long as it was accurate, it would have been perfect. But the damage changes are a little bit weird.
Yes.
I think they could adjust it a bit more. They said they were open to adjusting it too a bit more.
Yeah. I think if they stopped it like from 600 to 400, it would have been way cooler than like all the way to 250. A bit too much, but it's still amazing for a build. So I love it.
All right, my turn. My biggest standout of a buff from the new patch was the heavy machine gun. So the heavy machine gun, I always said, give this thing a bigger magazine. A bigger magazine is all it needs, bro. You're shooting this thing for 5 seconds and then you're reloading it for 10. It just feels horrible. And they didn't do that. Instead, they buffed the damage by 50%. They buffed the durable damage by 50%. And they gave it a faster reload speed. So when it has higher damage, you're effectively reloading less. That's number one. But number two, they made it so that it's in a spot where it rewards your accuracy. If you're extremely accurate with it, you actually will kill stuff really fast. And I actually like that change a bit more because if they simply raise the magazine, then maybe you could just spray and pray with it. Which I don't think that's their intention for the HMG. So they buffed it in a way I wasn't expecting, but it gave it that element to where it's really cool to use. And if you figure out how to manage your recoil and stuff like that, then it's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. It's in a good spot. Very fun.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool.
The buff to that weapon was kind of insane. I feel like that was probably the most changed weapon of the patch as far as statistics.
Oh yeah,
it's a
by
pretty
far.
drastic leap, right? 50% more damage, 50% more durable, reworking its total RPM. Like they really want that weapon to be good, and you can feel it.
I think it's good now.
It feels good now. Yeah, it's really good now. Yeah, for sure.
And overall, I think it's like it's 100% damage buff because you also get that 1.5 seconds off the reload speed, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the animation for that's pretty silly too.
Yeah.
The bag drills that they've been going through for that.
All right, Eravin, putting you on the spot. What's the biggest buff or nerf to stealth this patch? Have you noticed anything?
The crossbow.
Buff to stealth?
The crossbow. Yep.
Okay,
the crossbow is the premier stealth weapon in Helldivers 2 because it has no sound profile when you fire it. Bots do not react to where you fired the weapon. They run to where the explosion goes off. If you fire it into a fabricator while you're incognito, They'll just rush up to the fabricator. They have no idea what's going on. You can clear out the whole base and leave.
All right, that sounds
Good
pretty
point.
cool. So if you guys are into stealth, take the crossbow on bot missions, mess around with it. It sounds like it's pretty good. You guys got any other comments, Eravin or Pips, on the patch? Some other standouts to you?
I mean, overall, I think the patch was good, man. I think it went in the right direction. I understand that, yeah, and we're gonna discuss that, like the patrols and everything. That's a different conversation. But in terms of like whatever we wanted, it was always like buffs, right? Changes in the buff direction, so to speak, and that's precisely what happened, you know, in most of the cases. And it kind of, for me personally, it made the game more fresh. So overall, yeah, it's a dub for me.
Eravin, any standouts to you want to discuss further?
I feel like the patch was an absolute win to me personally, just because, I mean, it's the first patch I think in the history of Helldivers 2 now, since we ironed out all of the issues at the beginning with the server stability, that didn't make me extremely angry.
True.
This patch was so much better than every patch that came before, and I'm just hoping that they can continue that momentum into the future and keep giving us, you know, quality patches where it feels like someone's really taken the helm internally.
So
So I got one more for you.
Me
Slay.
personally,
Real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I gotta say it. I'm also extremely excited on how horrible the knives are. You can go on.
Hey, listen, we're gonna talk about the Warbond later. All right, so we'll
Oh, okay,
bring
okay,
that.
okay,
We'll
my
bring
bad,
that.
my bad,
We'll
my
bring
bad.
that one up later. All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
have two more things about the patch I would like to discuss. So the first one, because I feel like these actually go, it's a good thing and a bad thing. So the first one is the orbital precision strike. I actually really liked this note that Pilestat left. Hey, Worse, thank you for the $20. Appreciate it. So the orbital precision strike.
Go worst.
The original intent was to be used against spawners in fixed positions. However, this hasn't stopped the community from using it against everything. Therefore, we're going to make it easier to use against everything. So I feel like this dev note was exactly what the community wanted. You know, if there's a gun that isn't exactly being used as intended by everyone, then they nerf it or they change it. Whereas it would be great if, you know, something's maybe not working as intended, that they could just kind of lean into what the community's using it for then. So I thought this was a great change. And then Worse says, crossbow, wow, never suspected. Notice the AG pull is so quick now. Didn't realize sound was a real thing in the game. Oh yeah, didn't they buff the crossbow's projectile speed as well?
They buffed that, I believe. Well, it was whenever they reworked it, and
That was in
people
the
were a
last
bit
patch
upset
then.
because they swapped its projectile damage with its explosive damage value,
Yeah.
and then it couldn't AoE clear anymore, and people kind of dropped the weapon there. But against the bots,
Mm.
it's always kind of been a buff with the projectile speed increase,
Okay,
because it allowed you to actually tap dev heads with it.
that's fair. And then one change I disliked was the pummeler. So the pummeler actually got a bit of a nerf, a pretty big nerf from when I was messing with it. I think I have to mess with it a bit more. I'm trying to pull it up. So the pummeler stun was changed a little bit so that it's not stunning things instantly anymore. And when I read the change, it said that medium and large enemies won't be stunned as quickly by the pummeler. But then after that, it said this will mainly affect how the pummeler stuns larger enemies. So when I read that, it said medium, but then the last note like tricked my brain into thinking, oh, they're just making it so the pummeler doesn't stun charger butts so easily anymore. And I was like, that's fair. You know, a primary weapon not stunning a large enemy really fast. I'm totally cool with that. But when I tried it, I was shooting different parts of Devastators. So what you used to be able to do with the pummeler against Devastators was you could actually dive against like a heavy or a rocket Devastator and start beaming their leg. And what it would do, it would give you a moment to preemptively attack them. And they would stun after the first bullet. And then you could get your shots off and move on to the next enemy. And it's not fast at killing the legs, but it gave you a way to get in and out of different situations without dying. And when I tried that this patch, it took like 8 bullets to before the Devastator was even stunned. And I'm like, what is the point of this? Now, I did shoot a Rocket Devastator's rocket pods, and it seemed like it took like 3 or 4 bullets there. So I definitely got to mess with it a bit more. But I feel like, and that's why I brought up the Orbital Precision Strike change, was that the Orbital Precision Strike was being used in a way that was unintended, and they expanded upon that. Whereas with the Pummeler, it was unintended that it was stunning instantly, which is fine or whatever. But I always felt like the Pummeler had less damage, less stats than the Defender, but it gets that instant stun. It gives you crowd control. It's a different way to play the game. And even though an instant stun might be unintended, I just feel like it wasn't OP. It wasn't game breaking. It was just a very nice weapon that a lot of people liked. And a lot of people didn't like. You know, I'm pretty sure I argued with Pips. Was that the last podcast or was this a different stream? Pips hated the Pummeler the whole time.
Yeah, I hate it. I don't know what it is. It's like a personal thing with me and the Pummeler. I don't enjoy the weapon. I don't understand why they nerfed it, bro. It was fine. Like, it was a great weapon. A lot of people enjoyed it. It was not for me personally, but I understand why people liked it. I just don't understand, like, even then, why touch it? Like, whoever, like, have you guys heard anyone say, oh my God, Pummeler is OP. That's the only weapon I have to use? No, right? It's just a good gun. So I don't know why they have these little fears from time to time of, you know, oh, this is getting out of hand, let's nerf it kind of thing. But, you know, it is what it is, I guess.
It was the one nerf that slipped through that went over my head until I really tried it.
Yeah.
Eravin, you got any comments on it?
And it's such a shame too, because the Pummeler was, it definitely immediately became my go-to loud primary for bots if I just wanted to go in and, you know, wreak some mayhem. With the ballistic shield, it was just so much fun to get in there and just stun everything in front of you, have a buddy back you up with like a laser cannon and just shred through everything while you tank it up. It was just a great synergy. It was a lot of fun. It definitely brought me a lot of enjoyment in the time of need that was the Polar Patriots Warbond, because man, that Warbond was otherwise terrible.
Dude, Polar Patriots can't beat the allegations. There's only allowed to be one good gun from that Warbond at a time.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Last patch it was the Pummeler, this patch it's the Tenderizer. It is what it is, boys.
Yep.
I imagine what they ended up doing was, it was probably unintended from the get-go.
No, it definitely, I mean, for sure. It was instantly stunning every medium and light enemy.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, though, because it doesn't kill them fast. You, like, against bugs, it's my bug weapon. Because against bugs, I would pair it with the Senator. It's really slow to kill Brood Commanders, so what I would do was I would 2-tap the Brood Commanders' heads with the Senator, which doesn't kill them, but then I would swap back to my Pummeler, finish off their heads, and then they would be stunned, and they wouldn't, like, lunge at you super hard. And it was like a little bit of tech, you know what I mean? Like 2-tap with Senator, swap to Pummeler. It takes thought to it. It took practice. I had to discover that. I wasn't using the Senator with the Pummeler at first. I was just wasting ammo, spraying it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think our consensus is the gun wasn't overperforming. It wasn't overpowered.
No.
But
so why change it?
It was the fun word.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I also don't think it was unintended. I think that a lot of the times devs use that word to kind of, you know, not piss people off. It was unintended. They do this a lot. They did this with the Destiny 2 as well. But yeah, it was fine, I think.
I definitely have a theory on how it slipped through the cracks to be the way it was. It was probably supposed to, from the get-go, have a invisible buildup behind it for the stun that was based on the damage to main being done to the target. So now we're seeing like the legs stun really slowly. That's because of the really low damage to main on the legs.
Okay. I don't understand what you said. But it's fine. Well, hopefully people in chat did. All right. I thank you for that, by the way. Sorry. My brain farted. All right, though. I feel like we did some good discussions on the updates. We talked about what's good and what's bad. Let's go ahead and move on to the tip of the day. So last night when I was talking to Eravin, I was like, Eravin, we do tip of the day on the podcast. Why don't you show us some cool smoke tech or stealth or this and that? Because it'll show off your channel, your personality. For those of you that don't know Eravin, he's the smoke god. But randomly last night, me and Eravin and Zeddy, which is from Eravin's Discord, shout out to Zeddy, we were all messing around with the Charger Behemoths because we couldn't figure out why the Charger Behemoths were basically not getting their leg armor stripped to anti-tanks. So we have a tip of the day with the Charger Behemoths, and I'll just explain it because I had to edit this video up on the fly. So Charger Behemoths front legs are 650 HP, their back legs are 600 HP. However, many people are not able to strip their leg armor in one shot from any of the anti-tank weapons, and the recoilless rifle and the Quasar do 650 damage. Now, number one, you can actually just shoot their back legs at any time. It strips the armor, and then you could kill them easily. But it's a little bit weird that the front leg isn't stripping, right? So, and that's because of fall-off damage. Every time you shoot your gun, unless it's a laser, which the Quasar is a laser, by the way. We'll get into that because this is super weird. Anytime you shoot a gun, it essentially loses 1 damage. Now, it probably loses like 0.1 damage, but the game rounds down. So when you're shooting the recoilless rifle or an EAT, it loses 1 damage and it won't strip the front armor. However, we found out that fall-off damage is also based on velocity. So look with the Quasar cannon, when I'm moving backwards, you get -1 damage, and it doesn't strip the leg armor. But let's get the clip pulled up. Oops. But we found out if you're walking forwards, you get +1 damage. So if you're walking forwards, you can actually strip the Behemoth Charger's leg armor in one shot. This works with the Quasar cannon. This works with the recoilless rifle. This works with the EAT. Now, the Quasar cannon shouldn't have any fall-off damage because it's a laser. So you simply just have to be walking forward when you're using it. With the recoil, and look, this works with the recoilless as well. So
This doesn't make any sense, dude.
keep in mind.
It makes 0 sense to me.
Keep it. I'll let Eravin explain it a bit better too. I kind of scuffed that explanation. Keep in mind, if you're at a longer distance with a recoilless or an EAT, you can actually just dive forward and you'll get like +20 damage or something, right, Eravin? So
yeah,
from
+20
so from any range, if you're at a long distance, dive forward when you're shooting your recoilless or your EAT, and it'll strip the leg armor.
Yeah.
And Eravin, you can explain that a bit better. Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Velocity equals bonus damage for weapons that adhere to damage fall off mechanics. So and it gets even weirder because the slower your projectile is, the more they stand to benefit from the dive tech, from the forward momentum. And I was watching Thick was cooking last night. We were trying to get a one shot on a Biotitan with an EAT because it does 650, but like maybe you can get enough forward momentum to just do 750, you know?
Dude, I had a stim booster and a jetpack, and we were trying to one-shot the Biotitan with enough velocity. Some weird stuff happened. I think it's possible, and we had a weird point where I actually did one-shot it, but I didn't clip it. My clip software wasn't on. But
you even had one weird interaction where you dealt like 2,700 damage to it with one EAT to the body.
Something weird is going on.
Bug, right?
No, it's based on how fall off damage works. I wouldn't call it
fall off damage is stupid.
I wouldn't call it a bug. I would call it more unintended than anything. Now, with that being said, though, real quick, we're gonna segue this into some of the difficulty parts because I feel like everybody's complaining about the Charger Behemoths right now. But I would like to point out that Charger Behemoths are like regular Chargers with the health of Bile Titans in a sense. Charger Behemoths are way easier to deal with than Bile Titans. Number one, as the weirdness with the front leg, you can still just shoot the back leg with the anti-tank at any moment. On top of that, I made a little graph. The Charger Butts are 1,200 durable damage. The Scorcher literally takes out Charger Butts in 8 shots. Grenade Launcher and Autocannon do it in 3. The Crossbow does it in 6. The Dominator does it in 13. The Firebreaker, I'm pretty sure should take 10 shots, but I might have scuffed that. I'm pretty sure you could just spam a Firebreaker at its butt, or most shotguns for that matter.
You can spam it. Probably a little bit more than 10.
I might have scuffed that one. The HMG takes 24 shots. In reality, in my opinion, I think Charger Behemoths are actually a really good addition to the game. Now, with the fall off and the velocity, we came to the conclusion that they should actually buff every single gun's damage by 1, because that would fix it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if when you guys tested that and you guys came to that conclusion, right? Let's say that automatically becomes the biggest problem and not the behemoth, because like I don't want to be diving. Like the whole mechanic, I understand they added fall off, whatever, but it's flawed right away.
Yeah, it's a little bit messed up.
Yeah, I shouldn't be diving. Pretty much what's happening is while I'm diving, I'm pushing the rocket, like right, and like giving it a little bit more momentum. Which, come on now, like no rocket needs to be pushed, and they're also always pushing this reality thing. So
it's the way with the game engine. It actually makes sense when you look at it from the game engine perspective why it's working, and that's why I said I think every gun's damage should be buffed by 1, because it would actually counteract that issue.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's just like the game engine thing. Go ahead.
That 1 more damage would also fix so many issues as well. Like if anyone's curious about, say, the diligence or the verdict, these are 2 big important ones. 125 is enough to one-shot a Devastator head. However, they lose 1 damage due to the fall-off. But if you walk towards the target as you fire these weapons, due to the forward momentum, you counteract that -1 and you do one-shot the targets.
That's crazy.
So you guys heard it here from Eravin. The meta is to always W key. If you are backing up from the enemy, then you are a traitorous, treasonous disgrace to Super Earth. You walk forward and shoot. Okay, that is the meta. You guys heard it here first. And there you go.
Shift W only.
Shift W only. W key, baby. Don't back up from the enemy. All right, so I think we could segue this into the difficulty as well. So a lot of people have been complaining about the amount of Charger Behemoths spawning. I feel like, okay, the front leg thing is weird. I'm not going to say that. However, the back legs of the Charger Behemoth are just straight up less health. You could always one-shot the back leg no matter what, even if you're backing up with an anti-tank round. And there's just other ways to kill it, like shooting it in the butt. I just want to say a lot of people's day 1 reactions to Charger Behemoth, like, why don't we test the enemy a little bit? Why don't we find some other ways to kill it? I don't understand some of the complaining. Like when I honestly, I liked fighting Charger Behemoths anyway. And I feel like people complaining about the difficulty on higher difficulties is a little bit wild. I also feel like they lowered super samples to level 6. So really, you don't have any incentive if you're farming materials to go above level 6. Like, yeah, can you get more on higher difficulty? Yeah. But if you can get them easier on level 6 and you can win games faster, then you can probably actually farm more that way. So what are your guys' thoughts on the difficulty? Amount of patrols? Do you guys think Helldive is too hard? Do you think it's too easy?
I'll let Eravin go first.
Okay, so my thoughts on the difficulty. The first feeling I had whenever I dropped into a mission for the first time on this patch and I fired my Quasar Cannon at the Behemoth, at its head, and it didn't pop off, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I can do something else. There's a reason to do something else than do that. And then I brought the flamethrower back out for the first time in like 3 different patches, and I was having a great time just melting them down like the good old days, because there really isn't much of a difference between a normal charger and a Behemoth when it comes to the flamethrower. And then you have 500 kg and the buff precision strike if you want to deal with the Bile Titans. It really just felt like things got a little bit different than they were before, and not particularly harder, but maybe a bit more diversified, more of a reason to bring something else out. And then of course it led to us discovering the momentum tech. So I think that just adds more diversity, more fun to the game, more tech to the game. I'm all about that stuff. As far as the game getting more difficult, I mean, I'm all for it. I feel like if you're playing Helldive, it should be hard. It should be hard. And if you're playing alone on Helldive, there's just no incentive to be doing something like that, resources wise, progression wise. You should be absolutely struggling at the top of your game if you're playing alone. It's a co-op shooter. It's a 4-player co-op shooter. And I think it's great to have that kind of challenge in the video game, because that's all you're playing it for at the end of the day when you're doing that kind of thing. So making the game harder if we were to say that the game is harder now, I'm all for that always.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about you, Pips? We're talking about bugs
yeah,
right now,
I-
by the way. We'll get to bots,
bugs.
chat.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of bugs, I don't know, man. I love
Holy
flamethrower. That's my solo
Did you see
loadout, right?
that?
I see no difference. I kill the new behemoths the same way I killed the normal chargers. I have actually clips where side by side, I see that most of the times the behemoth die faster than the normals. I don't know what's up with that, but like when I put the clips side to each other, that's how it looks. And I don't mind it. I can see why people probably get frustrated because I'm guessing there's a lot of them. But at the same time, I agree. I've always been that player who, when there's something that is really high difficulty and supposed to be hard, I'd rather it be, challenging and hard, right? And
Yeah.
even before this patch, I always said like bugs on Helldive difficulty is easy. Like if you really want to play it solo, you can get it done. But not everyone. But like it shouldn't be like everyone can do it at any second, right? I think it's cooler when it needs time to master. You need to understand the mechanics. Every second matters. You're just really mastering the game, and then you're able to do it. So yeah, I don't mind the difficulty going up if we can consider it that it's being gone up, at least on the bug side. I feel like it's, for me personally, playing solo, it felt the same. Maybe a little bit more difficult, but nothing crazy.
I would like to add to the fact that I don't think the game is harder now either. I think it's just different. If we have less Titans, which I've noticed less Titans. What about you guys? Have you noticed less Titans?
Yeah, I would say so. Similar
Oh, yeah.
or like 20%, maybe 25%, something like that. Less.
So I've noticed less Titans. I've seen more Charger Behemoths. I know everyone's seen more Charger Behemoths. You need a different build than what you were running before. There's more chaff. There's more Charger Behemoths. Bring a Scorcher and a machine gun. Scorcher will 8-shot the Charger Behemoth's butts. Just bring rocket pods, bring an orbital precision strike, bring a single anti-Titan stratagem with you. You know what I mean? And if you're playing in squads and each person only has one anti-Titan stratagem, then you will probably have enough to deal with all the Titans. I feel like medium machine gun is viable against bugs right now on Helldive difficulty. A solo is a little bit different. I'm a squads player, by the way, for the most part. But if you're bringing medium machine gun, then think about bringing the Scorcher to deal with Charger Behemoths. You know what I mean? And then use the medium machine gun as your primary. So
Yeah.
I just feel like the game is more so different rather than it being harder, in my opinion. And I just think it's like, I would rather adapt to that and learn the new challenges. Like, what happens when Illuminates drop in the game? Like, are we going to complain about how hard they are day one, or are we just going to figure out how to kill them?
Yeah, I see your point. I agree. I don't mind it getting tougher. The one argument that people do make is like bullet sponging, right? Because technically, like you got the same chargers, but they're just tankier, right? A lot of the times, like when you look at some of the weapons that need to, you need to kill them. But and for example, if you look at the Division 2, that was the biggest problem. It was always bullet sponging, and that's why people stopped playing eventually, because like every boss, but that was a different level of bullet sponging. And this game doesn't have that, it's not that bullet spongy. It's only one enemy that has been added that is slightly harder to kill. And as said, with the flamethrower, it's just as easy.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Eravin, any last thoughts to that discussion?
Nope, that's about it.
We're good.
Yeah,
All right.
I think we're good.
So we talked about the bugs and the difficulty. Let's talk about the bots.
Here we go.
Time for the bots. Number one, we got rid of -1 stratagem. That just makes bots so much more fun because listen, I'm always down to run whatever when I'm streaming. When people watch me play, I will run the dumbest stuff. I played Tenderizer before I got buffed all the time. I'll bring Purifier, and then I'll get rid of it after the first game. But I'll still play it, and I'll bring other stuff. But some nights, when I'm running bots and it's late, I'm just like, all right, I'm bringing Autocannon, Eagle Airstrike, 380. I only get 3 stratagems. I'm bringing the good ones. Like, so the fact that -1 is gone adds to build diversity. I think that's the main thing. Now, the other big thing with bots is we have gunship patrols. Any first thoughts on gunship patrols?
I think that the gunship patrols it's not just the gunship patrols, right? And we've had this discussion. I'm just gonna like go over my thoughts about it, but I think that the bots in general, mechanically, the problem is not just the gunship patrols, but you got to look at it as the aimbotting issue that the bots have, right? Like they aimbot you all the time, they hit every shot, they flinch you like crazy, and above that, they ragdoll you out of this world. They don't care if it's heavy armor. Yeah, you take less damage, but the ragdolling is still real. And the problem that came with the gunships now is that added on top of that. That's the problem. It's not that the gunships are crazy at the moment. They can be, I guess, for some people overwhelming. But the problem is that mechanic just got more frequent. And now there's something out of the sky that is spamming you and like flinching you and ragdolling you all the time. And nobody in general, right? When you're playing against AI, you don't want to go against something where their aim is too good or they're flinching you or they're ragdolling you all the time. And that's what's happening. I think that's why it seems a little bit more annoying than it should be. And if they tone that down a little bit, that would be perfect. Like tone down the ragdolling or give us a way to counter the flinch and the ragdolling due to armor. For example, the armor, decreases the flinch or decreases the ragdolling, or you get up faster. Erwin was talking this before the podcast, something that gives you a booster, he said, which is a great idea that gives me the ability to stand up faster and stuff like that would be really nice. But we have to counter all of this. And when you combine that, they can also headshot damage you. And that damage we all know is absolutely insane. And I will never understand why that mechanic in general is in the game. All of these things combined make it unfun for people. And I can 100% understand that.
Eravin?
So, as a bot enjoyer, the first thing I noticed with the gunships, I was very, very thankful that the gunship AI seems to be fundamentally different when they spawn in as a patrol compared to from a fabricator, where the fabricator will tend to lock on to the nearest Helldiver, or sometimes just fly 500 meters away directly at a Helldiver and start shooting at them, and doesn't really care about what your position was at that time, whether you're crouching, sneaking, smoke, whatever. They just know where you are. But the patrols seem to at least not do that, and they do need to actually have spotted you or had the alert spread to them in order for them to start coming after you. So I think in that regard, it's not too bad, just based on how we tend to play the game by just avoiding the majority of controversy whenever we're doing automatons.
Yeah.
And in that way, we haven't seen a huge difference due to that.
You
But
could,
I do think,
yeah, you could just straight up avoid the gunships. They actually have pretty low detection for the most part.
yeah, they're just about the same as any normal enemy is, it seems to be.
Okay.
And if you're in a smoke cloud, they will fly right by you. They cannot see you. It's physically impossible because they can't get within the smoke to see you.
Oh yeah, true. Okay.
Yep,
So smoke stonks going up, chat.
always.
Smokes are amazing against the bots. They're so good.
Yeah. So I started this conversation with gunships. We could take it to flinching and ragdolling in a second. When it comes to gunships, I'm just gonna say I love the gunship patrols. I do have a downside to it though. So I think gunship patrols add the whole Y-axis to the game, which makes it harder to do. It's harder to deal with things attacking you from above and, above you, behind you. But I like that aspect to it. I just like the craziness when you shoot a gunship out of the sky and it crashes down to the earth. Like, I think the most cinematic experience I've ever had in this game was team reloading a recoilless rifle and shooting down dropships back to back to back in Malevolent Creek days. That shit was cinematic. And gunships give me sort of the same feeling. So I like gunships. I like fighting them. Two downsides actually. One downside is I feel like it does reinforce the bot meta a little bit, where you really need the AP4 weapons, like the anti-material rifle, the autocannon, the laser cannon, or the heavy machine gun. The AP4 weapons, those have always been best against bots, but they're really strong against gunships. And I feel like with a lot more gunships spawning, it kind of reinforces that a little bit. Like, spear is good, don't get me wrong, and if you have access to ammo, you can take out gunships because it locks on really well now. You can cover your teammates pretty well. But with less ammo, I feel like it's slightly worse than some of the other options. I don't know. I got to play with spear some more. Maybe I'm just wrong on that. But I feel like it just does reinforce that meta a little bit. Like, you can't really bring medium machine gun against gunships. You can kill them, but it takes a whole magazine. I would personally like to see the primary weapons that can damage gunships get more love, like the Eruptor. The Eruptor, first of all, it's really hard to shoot against gunships because of the projectile speed. The Purifier needs more damage, in my opinion. The Purifier was a great weapon for shooting down gunships. It's actually not horrible right now. You could do it in less than a magazine per gunship. However, it just doesn't have high enough damage. Like, it's only 50 more damage than the Scorcher, but I could fire 3 Scorcher bullets in the time it takes me to fire 1 Purifier bullet. So I feel like how I feel about Purifier, Crossbow, and Eruptor is I feel like Purifier should get Crossbow's damage, Crossbow should get Eruptor's damage, and Eruptor needs its shrapnel back. So, and if they did that, like, it would help against the bot meta a lot more, because you would probably be able to bring different loadouts, like kind of what they did for the bugs. Like, I feel like machine guns are very viable against the bugs, the machine gun support weapons, even the Stalwart. Even though I think the Stalwart is, even though it's really fun, it's pretty bad. But it's very fun, and it's useful because there's a lot of chaff. So any other comments on the gunships, guys? It's all right. It just doesn't have medium pen. That's it.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, on the gunship side, I don't know. As I said, I don't mind them per se because, you know, they're gunships. I just don't like the whole mechanic on the bot side. So
the
that's just gonna be,
ragdolling.
you know.
Okay, so we could talk about the ragdolling and the flinching a lot more. When it comes to flinching, I feel like I wish that they didn't nerf the pummeler, because a lot of people like the pummeler because you could stun groups of devastators. You just have to spray it around and land it on their light armored parts, and then you or your team can take them out a lot easier. So when it comes to flinching, I would like it if, number one, it could be an armor passive or just on heavy armor in general.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
And then number two, if there's more CC weapons that give us that different playstyle. So I would like to add that back. And then when it comes to ragdolling, I do think the ragdolling can be a bit excessive. I feel like you cannot take damage from an explosion. It just lands anywhere near you and you ragdoll, which makes sense, but maybe let us stand up a little bit faster in light armor, and maybe it's harder to ragdoll you in heavy armor. So I feel like
there has to be a counter.
They could expand on that aspect a bit more.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And also the fact that you get hit off screen, that's also one of my biggest problems. Like, I'm fighting one guy and I get like a rocket flies out of, I don't know, a different planet. And now I'm ragdolling.
I think cannon turret detection is a little bit crazy sometimes. I feel like I'll be fighting and then like 200 meters away, where I never fired a bullet, a cannon turret just looks towards me. And I'll look over there and it's like listen, it's weird to me because it's like 2 cannon turrets at that heavy base. And the one is firing at me, but the other one's not. And I feel like there's something weird going on with those sometimes.
I believe that is due to the cannon turret having a much larger range where aggro can be spread to it. It's very odd, and it never ceases to be the cannon turret jump scare of the day.
Yeah.
I feel like it happens at least once where a cannon turret will just take a shot at you. Dude. Meanwhile, sometimes you walk right in front of them, like 40 meters right in front of them, and they're just chilling.
Yeah, they're just chilling. It's weird. Dude, cannon turrets are like the stalkers of of the bots. Like, dude, they just ruin solo runs like with low deaths. That's what stalkers do. Stalkers are just like, yep, we're eating reinforcements. You're playing solo? Not anymore. And I feel like that's what cannon turrets do. Which is fair, but the detection on cannon turrets is just weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, the detection can be insane. Sure.
What were you saying? You were running what?
Oh, if I'm running solo, I'm trying to do something deathless on bots. It's my number one fear. I'm always watching for the cannon turret and seeing what it's doing. Camera's always panning over to it just to see if it's having a bad day and it wants to make mine
never
worse.
know. Yeah, you never know. You're just running on your own, just having fun, and nothing's around you, and boom. You're flying in the air out of nowhere. It's kind of crazy.
It can be pretty crazy. All right. Have we talked enough about the bots? Maybe expand upon the ragdolling. I don't mind getting, look, getting ragdolled back to back sucks, but it makes sense as a mechanic. give us a way to maybe counter it or something.
Yep.
Like maybe buff the shield emplacement because it's not horrible, but it's in a weird spot in my opinion. Otherwise though, I feel like with flinching, give us a play style, like bring back the pummeler, bring back more crowd control weapons, give us a way to flinch them if we fire at them first. And then I don't mind the gunship patrols, but I do feel like gunships reinforce the meta a little bit.
I mean, I don't think the pummeler is enough. I understand that playing with the pummeler counters it, but I think that mechanically there should be a counter to it. Like mechanically, give me. I don't have to build only with pummeler in order to counter flinch. No other game just has flinch counter in one item. It's either armor or mods on the armor or stats or something.
Yeah, or
perk.
armor perks and stuff would be fine too.
Yep.
I mean, I think we've got Arrowhead's next booster. Just give us the GTFU device.
Yep.
It'll be a booster plus 50% rate to standing back up.
Yeah, standing back up faster. Even if that was like a light armor thing, light armor can stand up faster. But heavy armor gets ragdolled less.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it should
That
be.
would work,
because you're paying the price with heavy armor on your speed already. You're walking like 100 meters every 3 days. So slow. So there should be some kind of benefit to it. And keep in mind, you get headshot in heavy armor anyway.
I think I want to mention this real quick. I think nerfing the robot's accuracy, at least with the explosions, from rocket devastators, and I don't know about Hulks, but definitely rocket devastator accuracy, I feel like could get nerfed. I don't know. I feel like it's in a spot where it's like, if you look at things in a vacuum, if you look at the game as, oh, here's a rocket devastator, what should its stats be? It should hit you this many times. In a vacuum, it's like, I can understand why its accuracy would be the way it is. But it's like, bro, you fight a minimum of 10 rocket devastators at a time in any extended engagement. You walk into a base, there's going to be normally 5 or 10 there. Or something.
Yep.
I would actually be very sad if they changed anything with the rocket devastator accuracy, just because the way it is now, it's straight at your current position when the pod launches. So you can always just run at that angle that will avoid the rockets 100% of the time.
Is it?
Which is great counterplay. Yeah, that's how that works.
If you see it though.
Yeah. Well, you
don't
can
see
hear
it
it too. If you just hear that noise, and you swerve because you know it's coming straight at you. You don't even have to see them most of the time. But if there are a lot of them, I think the one thing that I would change about it, if I was to change something about the rocket devs, I feel like there should be a little bit more time between salvos. It's really inconsistent, the amount of time that they have on cooldown
maybe
between
that's
those.
what
And
it
like
is.
it can feel a bit oppressive when there's a lot of them. It's the same as the heavy dev really at the end of the day, right? Like they just don't have much time between those volleys for you to react or counter it or have any fight back when you're just cowering behind cover from like 10 heavy devastators.
Okay, that's a good point, because with rocket devastator salvos, by the time you stand up, they're shooting off another salvo.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah. And also you got to keep in mind, Eravin, you're young, so you can hear shit way better than us. You know what I mean?
I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
No. He's young. He can hear it. Like we're like, oh,
he got
I heard
better
something.
ears.
7 seconds later, you react to it. So
Pips, it's called an ear trimmer. You got to get the hair out of there, bro.
Yep. I think these done some damage in my ears all day long. It's damaged now.
It's called get your hearing aid.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. We're going to move on to talking about the Warbond and our thoughts on it. But first, Eravin, since it's your episode on the podcast, we must introduce you and torture you with who's that stratagem. Are you in Discord, Eravin?
Before you start, I want you to know I guessed every single one last podcast.
Yeah, Pips is insane. You know what?
Every single one.
You know what he said the resupply stratagem was?
No. You don't have to tell him more information. That's more than enough.
Up left, down, jump.
Up, left, down, jump.
Yeah, apparently you can jump to activate stratagems now.
Is that what we're doing? We're doing
No.
Okay.
You're doing.
Are you watching?
Okay.
All right. So this is the game show. I'm either going to show you a stratagem icon or a stratagem code, and you have 10 seconds to either guess the code or guess which stratagem it is. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Stratagem. You know this one, Eravin.
It's jump pack.
I guess final answer. Final answer.
Yeah, jump pack. I'll just say jump pack.
It's the Quasar cannon, bro. You should know that one.
I should know that one. I put that one in all the time.
Who's that?
Same thing. Don't worry, Eravin.
Upright right.
Man, it's an airstrike for sure of some kind.
Which one?
It's one of the small ones. It's
Which one?
Oh my god, I know
He's
this.
close. He's close.
It's like strafe.
Strafing run. He got it.
Go.
Let's go. W.
Who's that?
Stratagem. You have to guess the
Oh,
code.
cluster bomb.
Guess
Oh,
the code.
Oh my god, guess the code?
upright, down, down, upright.
It's
Close. You knew.
Upright, down,
you
down,
knew.
right.
Yeah, you knew upright, down, down. That was pretty good.
Yeah. I just
I
got
thought it was
extra
like-
up in there for no
Who's
reason.
that?
Stratagem.
Left, right, up,
You gotta
up.
guess the code for the spear.
Ooh, I never use the spear anymore. Down, up. Left, right,
4-7.
down.
That's really close. You're actually really close.
That was actually close, yeah.
Oh, down, down, up.
Yeah, you said down, up. It's down, down, up.
Who's that?
All right, what's this one, Eravin? What's
You got
this
this
one?
one.
Looks
You
like
know
a
this.
nuclear it looks
You've
like
seen
a
it.
nuclear launch code.
But which
Wait, no,
one?
That's from the.
What the hell is this?
I saw this happen once. Yeah, I remember that.
What the hell is this?
It's a random nuclear launch code that was in one of Eravin's videos, which was really funny.
Yeah, it was just the perfect nuke code, or nearly perfect nuke code. I remember this happening.
Who's that?
All right, Eagle Smoke. You better know Eagle Smoke.
Thing.
You
I
better
never
know
use it.
Eagle
I
Smoke.
never use it.
You don't use Eagle Smoke, really?
No, I just throw grenades. It's down, up. No, up, down, right.
It's
Up, right, up, down.
Up, yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I was off on that
Wow.
one. I never use it.
Chat, can you believe that the smoke god doesn't know the Eagle Smoke stratagem code? That Eravin, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, I should be. We only use it on the scientist extract mission. They took it out of the game.
All right, that was Who's That Stratagem, the game show that tests your stratagem knowledge. I should let you guys do it to me one day, because I'm pretty good at stratagems.
Yeah, for sure.
But that'll never happen, because, I always got to look good, okay? All right, on to the Viper Commandos Warbond. Pips, I know you want to start this one off. Viper Commandos, what's your thoughts?
Okay,
Talk about one thing at a time, one thing specifically.
Okay. First thing I'll go over then is the fact that it has 2 weapons. For the fact that I think it has 2 weapons instead of, the other ones having more. It should have been better. I was expecting it, it's only 2 weapons. Because it's 2 weapons, it's gonna be good. I'm not gonna lie that, I guess we're gonna go over the weapons specifically, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that it has 2 and they're just not what I was expecting them to be, especially the AR. But the biggest, and I know people always like, even when I was streaming like, in chat, they were like, what do you think the knife is gonna be and stuff like that? But I never expected the knife to be any good from the first time I saw it. So that did not surprise me at all.
True. We did talk about that last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, personally, I would have liked one more weapon in the Warbond. Just me personally. It's more of a cosmetic Warbond for sure. I think everyone had that expectation going forward. So I think most people aren't really upset with it. But yeah, we do wish the weapons were a bit better.
For
Eravin?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about how I'm feeling about it. So the drip, immaculate. The theme, fantastic. Love it. So nice to look at. But the weapons, painfully mid. The carbine is basically just a reskinned Patriot from the first game, but we just dropped the magazine size by 25 and threw 5 of the magazines out. But it's otherwise the exact same gun from the first game. So, I mean, the war on ammo continues. I don't know.
Yeah.
My problem with the carbine is, we talked about this last week, that we knew they were buffing assault rifles. They should blow it out of the park. We had this issue with Polar Patriots and the Tenderizer. It was literally a Liberator with one different stat, which was the recoil, and it had less mag size, or two different stats, whatever. The Carbine is the Liberator with faster fire rate and less recoil. And
Yeah.
I feel like the Liberator, it feels like they're sometimes balancing the game around the Liberator. And they should not balance the game around the Liberator. The Liberator is the starting gun. Everybody views it as, some people like it, don't get me wrong. Some people like using the Liberator. I'm not trying to hate on you guys. But the Liberator should be worse than every other gun in the game. It shouldn't be the gun that we're like, okay, this is the balanced assault rifle. Let's make the other assault rifles balanced around this one. Just make it worse. It's the starting gun. Make it bad. Who cares? I know some people like it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be completely acceptable for running cadet loadout to be a challenge loadout. It doesn't have to be competitive with my like 5th Warbond that I've, farmed super credits for like 6 months into the game. I don't want to use a gun that's comparable to the very first gun I ever picked up. I want to use something new and exciting and cool and fun and just get me a little bit more bang for my buck. Something to reward that effort.
But I think it's also an overall AER problem. You still come back to the circle of they're afraid to buff them, which just doesn't make sense to me. But I feel like all AERs should be higher damage. They're pretty much useless at this point, apart from the Tenderizer and maybe one more. But Tenderizer feels really good, right? And it's at like 95 damage. And now you have Liberators that are like 50 and 60. Like, why would you?
That's my point, though. I feel like we should just
Right.
drop the Liberator. I feel like it's what's causing all the issues because all these guns come out and they're balanced. It's like literally the Carbine is, the other thing about the Carbine too, if they simply gave it a way fatter magazine, it would probably be great. Because what's the Sickle? The Sickle has less damage than the Liberator, but it's got a crazy fire rate and it's got 90 shots before it overheats. So, like, I don't know. I'm just very surprised it didn't have at least like 60 in the magazine in the Carbine.
Yeah, I had to do some recording the other night on Helldivers 1, and I'm running around with the Patriot from the game. It's the exact same thing as the Carbine. It's straight 1-to-1. They did take the Patriot from that game and make it the Carbine and just, make it look different. And it's like, I have 70 rounds in my magazine. I can shred the entire swarm on my screen with this weapon, and I'm having a great time. What happened to our budget?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The booster's a dub, though. The booster's insane. Like, the booster is definitely the highlight for me personally. It's amazing, especially for solo Helldivers. That thing is a blessing, man. It's so much fun to use.
Yeah, the booster goes crazy, especially after the movement and damage tech we showcased earlier. The booster gives you more damage now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised to hear that at this point.
No, but literally when I first unlocked the booster and I was streaming, I was literally at one point I was like, "Oh my god, I love this booster. I just want to hurt myself right now so I can stim."
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is. It just feels so good, man.
By the way, chat, we just got a message from Super Earth. Stims are not addictive, even with the new booster. You don't have to worry about any side effects. I know it says something about there in the description, but whoever wrote that is getting tried right now. Yeah, stim up.
Yeah, you can stim up.
You like the booster, Eravin?
Well, the additive super crack definitely has no addictive properties. R&D can ensure us of that.
R&D can ensure us. All right, what do we think about the throwing knives? I want Pips to go first because he's going to trash them, and then Eravin's going to give us some stealth tech with the throwing knives, I think. I hope so. We'll find out.
On the backside, right? As I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'd rather grab a spoon from my kitchen and just start throwing it at damn bugs. I just don't get it. The first time I heard about it, the first thing I asked Filet was like, dude, there's no way this is instead of a grenade, right? Like, nobody's using it. Like, why am I going to use a knife that I have to throw and it just flies for 45 minutes and then hits a bug? It doesn't, it kills them or whatever. And then this knife is gone when I can just throw a stun or impact grenade and kill a bunch of shit or just, stun everything. It's throwing spoon, somebody's saying in chat. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's not my thing.
So my thoughts on the knife was that before we did this was look at Thermite. Thermite is a single target heavy armor grenade, but it just doesn't do enough damage. So you don't really see anybody playing with it unless they're just playing with it for fun, because Thermites make pretty fireworks. They're kind of cool. But the Thermite damage needs buffed because nobody's playing with it. And Thermites, if you can, if it even only had like a little bit more damage, like 80 more damage, it would be actually pretty useful versus bots. That's number one. Number two, it could be used against bugs in combination with other stuff. It can help you deal with heavies if it was good, and it would give you varied loadouts. And the knife is kind of in the same spot. So weirdly, it can 4-tap charger legs, but that's probably a bug, let's be honest. It only has medium armor pen. And I feel like the knife needed to one-shot Brood Commanders. Or they should have made it so that it counts as melee. So that if you're wearing melee armor, you can boost the damage. Or if you use muscle enhancement, you could boost the damage. Or even servo. Like, if you could throw it faster, you could boost the damage. So I just feel like there's some stuff they could have done. Or if it had like a melee animation on it. So like if you could pull out the knife and frickin' shank things, like people would run it for just that, I promise. I promise. All right, any thoughts? Any thoughts on the Bushwhacker?
I like the shotty. I use it.
You like
with
it?
my builds. Yeah, I like it. I now that we have the crossbow that closes up buckholes, I like to run that and combine it with a shotgun.
Okay.
It's not like something crazy, but
Okay.
the 3 burst I like a lot. The commanders, I destroy them, and it's pretty fun. So I enjoy it. It's not like crazy strong or anything, but I'd rather, because I have with, let's say my new builds that I use, I have like Ed Clear covered anyway, so I just use it as fun. So I'll switch to the 3-shot and destroy like the commander running at me or something, and then swap to my machine gun, and yeah, I enjoy it.
Shotgun, Eravin, Bushwhacker?
So my current position with the Bushwhacker is it's probably the most fun thing that they've added to the game thus far.
Really?
In concept, just a tri-barrel shorty sidearm shotgun. I know it's something that people have been asking for a long time. Like, when are we getting the double barrel sidearm? You know, like,
Yeah, and they gave
everyone
us
loves that kind of thing.
They gave us a triple barrel.
And they're like, here's a 3rd barrel for your trouble. I'm like, ooh, and I can fire all 3 at the same time. Wow, that's so much fun, right? You just unload 3 Punisher shells at something all at once from your sidearm. Like, that's great fun. The only thing that really keeps me from running it is it's not really what I want from my secondary when I'm fighting bots. It is what I want from my secondary when I'm fighting bugs, because I mean, it's a bug splatter. It's a fantastic bug splatter on demand, right? Everyone loves that. But I need my grenade pistol for that nest closure, because there's just so many nests everywhere. And
start bringing the grenade launcher against bugs, man.
I could, but there's so many things to account for. I just need my grenade pistol.
I feel you. So
but it is really fun.
The shotty's cool. I haven't played with it too much, so I don't have many thoughts on it. But I know that it shoots a Punisher shell, which is 400 damage. When you triple shot it, it's 1200 damage. I'm pretty sure it can 1-tap a Hulk heat sink in the triple shot version, but which, you know, sounds crazy. But at the same time, it's light penetrating. So realistically, it's not that anything light penetrating just can't be that crazy. Like, no matter what. I don't know. I don't think anything light penetrating in this game, if you gave it 10,000 damage, that it could be that strong, because it'll only just kill the weakest things in the game really fast. You know what I mean? But I think it's cool. I want to try it with ballistic shield still. I haven't played with it that much yet. So I know it has insane stagger. I played with it a little bit. It staggers everything like crazy. Oh, I did find some tech where if you fire the triple fire mode, you could only load 2 shells back into it and then cancel your reload. And I'm wondering if there are enemies that you could just double barrel and be more ammo efficient that way. So I'm gonna find some bugs that die to the double barrel shots. All right, what do we think about the armors? Pips, go. So wait, hold on. Number 1, the melee damage on the new armor is bugged, I'm pretty sure. That doesn't work, right?
Neither of the functions work for the armor, unfortunately, at the moment.
Are you sure the weapon handling doesn't work?
pretty certain, yeah, from what I've seen.
Okay, I think the weapon handling might be bugged on some weapons. I'm pretty sure. So I ran it solo with a Dominator and a Flamethrower. The Dominator, I'm not sure if it felt faster. I think it did. The Flamethrower felt like I was going side to side faster. I might have to compare some footage. Are both of them really bugged? I'm pretty sure the weapon handling works and the melee doesn't.
I know the melee does not work.
Yeah, the melee
for
doesn't.
Sure, I've seen that firsthand, and then from everything that's been being passed around my Discord, as far as like video evidence of people recording, like using like a macro to move a specific amount of distance left, right, up, down
Oh.
with the weapons, and then recording that and then putting them side by side with and without the booster to see if there's a difference. It's coming back exactly the same right now when people do that, and obviously that's someone else testing on the internet something, and I'm just watching them test it and taking their word for it. But from everything I've seen, it seems to not be currently functional, and they need to pad that up. I think if we talk about the idea of if it does work, like when it does work, because they are going to fix this, obviously, I think it's going to be really fun to run these armors with like the Eruptor. It's going to be really fun to run this armor with the Jar, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And
I
it's gonna be
didn't
great
feel
fun.
it. I remember when I first tried it with HMG, I did not feel it. I was like, is it just not, is HMG handling really that bad? I swear I felt
HMG
it on the Flamethrower, but I might be placeboing myself. So yeah, I guess that sucks.
Those three guns, I think it will be fantastic fun to run this armor with. Unfortunately, due to them not adding in a melee functionality to that knife, I feel like that really was a wasted opportunity to make something really cool with this armor happen.
Something really cool, because people have been asking for swords and gravity hammers and melee weapons. It could have been the first step into melee weapons.
Yeah,
but the expectation was also like the same way, kind of over hyped for the knife, even if it was a melee on the armor, right? Like the melee damage percentage. How much is it? 50? What the hell is 50% gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like tickle a hunter? Like
Yeah, the melee damage needs to be like 200% bonus.
Yeah, if it was,
I would say 500.
Yeah,
could do anything.
If it was using the knife's damage, then we'd be dealing 375 with the knife stab, and that would have been
that would actually be
good.
Decent.
Yeah, that would kill a lot of stuff.
See, I want them to add a melee to the knife because you can hold a ballistic shield with a grenade out. And I want to go melee only bots. Bro. And I feel like that's not, if anything, I'm gimping myself trying to do that. So they should add it to the game.
Yep, it's adding fun to the game, not meta.
Yeah, that would be a challenge run. Melee only bots with ballistic shield. That would be so cool, though. Just saying.
I would be so for it. That would be so much fun. Yeah,
That'd be
I think
ridiculous.
the knife for me was a bit of a letdown just because the damage is fine. The stealth aspect of it, if you can line up the shots, it does one-shot headshot devastators. You don't get a reaction from the enemy because it doesn't make any noise. It's a knife. And that part about it is fine. It's pretty hard to actually hit shots at range without the servo-assisted armor, though, just because of how fast that knife does fall off, and it's also aiming like up and to the left. The other thing with the knife is like we really wanted to be able to melee with it. We really wanted to be able to retrieve them, and you can't. And it feels like if you really want to play a lot with a knife, then you're going to need to run a supply pack, and then you're spending a stratagem just to enable your grenade slot, and it doesn't feel good right now to do anything like that, especially because I'm giving up my smoke grenades. You know how important those are to me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But then you could use Eagle Smoke, and you could remember the stratagem code.
Good point.
All right. So, yeah, that's all our thoughts on the weapons. However, we already said this Warbond was obviously more cosmetic. I think they did a good at setting up the expectations that the Warbond's more cosmetic. People aren't really upset about this Warbond for the most part. We all are saying, like, we like it, but we wish the weapons were better. So I think they did a great job on advertising, theming, and that made it, because, like, people were way angrier about Polar Patriots, but, like, I would say some of the weapons in this Warbond are kind of worse than what we got on launch with those.
I would agree.
They did a good job with theming, advertising it, setting up the expectations for what it's going to be. Do you guys like the cosmetics?
It's a yeah. I like the cosmetics, but I think the reason you didn't get as many people that are upset about this Warbond is because it came with a patch and the patch was good. If there was
Maybe,
no patch
yeah.
and you had directly this Warbond, you would not have the same reaction. People just overlook it
You
because
think
the
so?
patch was yeah, 100%. And on top of that, none of the items in the previous Warbond had a good item like the booster in this one. This booster carries
Oh yeah,
hard.
the booster does carry.
Booster
That's
is
true.
carrying pretty
That's
hard.
true.
Yeah. The booster's carrying it hard.
That's true. The booster is carrying pretty hard. I forgot about that. In terms of the cosmetics for me, the muscle armor's got to be my favorite. I really can't believe Pips just isn't running muscle armor just because he's addicted to that freaking booster, man. He's wearing his medic armor only.
Yeah, I'm not taking that off. If I had
Pips,
it in
do
real life,
something
I'd
for
go to sleep with
cosmetics, bro. Have fun.
No. I'm good.
Have fun.
6 stims all day. Just chugging them. I love it.
That is crazy. But, all right, I think that could be a good place to end the podcast. So, if you guys don't know, me, Pips, always host this podcast pretty much once a week. Maybe if some cool news comes out, we'll do more. If you guys don't know Eravin, he is the Smoke King. He runs tons of stealth stuff. He covers stats and more in-depth stuff on the game. So hit the pinned comment or the link in the description. Please go subscribe to both of these guys because, look, the podcast is on my channel. Go spread the love. Come on, that's what we do in this community. This community is very tight-knit.
Worst with the
Look,
20 gifted.
Look, Worst, spreading the love in the community. 20 gifted. Thank you so much, Worst. I freaking appreciate that.
That's a dub.
I really appreciate
dub.
that. W7's in the chat, by the way, boys.
W. Okay.
But we're going to end
Thank you,
it.
chat, for today, man. Thank you.
Please go follow Pips and Eravin. Please, guys. Please. I'm begging you. Please. All right. But we're going to go raid Pips. Everybody stick around. Pips just signed off for his stream. Any final words, Eravin? You want to tell them what you do on your channel?
I don't know. I mean, you pretty much told them exactly what happens on my stream.
Listen, I'm stalling so we could raid Pips. I'm stalling.
Oh, yeah. Stalling. Well, thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. Enjoyed talking about the game with you guys.
We did too. It was a good episode. We'll have you on again. I'm going to make rounds and get everyone I can on here, but we can only do one at a time. But we'll definitely have you on again. Put a 1 in chat if you guys enjoyed Eravin on the pod. Put a 1
Definitely
in chat.
happy to come back anytime.
And you actually taught me something. I didn't know that rocket devastators always aimed at your location. So I actually learned stuff having you on here. And that movement tech that we were doing last night, that was stupid.
Oh, it's so much fun.
But all right. Thanks for being on, Eravin. Appreciate it. All right, chat. We're going to go raid Mr. Pips. Everybody stick around if you want to watch some Helldive gameplay. Worst, again, thank you for the 20 gifted. I love you, brother. But all right, guys. See you guys next week. Well, I'll stream later.